Hello everyone, myself Ami Mehta, and here we discuss nested structure. We already see the nested for loop, nested if loop, or nested of looping in C. Now we see nested structure in C. So C provides us the feature of nesting one structure within another structure by using which complex data types are created. For example, we may need to store the address of an entity employee in a structure. The attribute address may also have the subpart as street number, city, state, and pin code. So suppose we need to store the address of particular entity of the structure employee. So one structure in which there is the entity employee, and now particular for that entity we have to store, we need the address. Now address has also another attribute like street number, city, state, and pin code. So hence to store the address of the employee we need to store the address of the employees into a separate structure and nest the structure address into the structure employee. So in this type of scenario we required a nested structure. So let us see the example of the nested structure, then our idea will be more clear. So let us see the example. So first we include our header file. Okay, so first we include two header file, stdio.h and conio.h. So here we see the example of how we can use the structure, okay, in another structure. So one structure in the another structure. So this is the example of nested structure. So like we write a for loop in another for loop, here we write one structure in the another structure and access the variable. Okay, so first we now include our header file. Now we define our structure format, that struct address. We see the same example which we saw previous. The struct address, then the entity or members character city, then integer pin code, then character phone number, and then we write struct another structure, struct employee. So this is our another structure variable. Now what we write, character name. So this is the member of another structure employee. So name. Then we declare another structure inside structure, struct address ADD. So this address is another structure and the ADD is the variable of that structure. Now we define our main function. So if we want to access the another member of any member of another structure, then we have to declare variable of that structure. So here we want to access member of structure address, then we want to declare variable of that structure, so that in structure employee we write struct address ADD. So now we in main function we declare variable of employee structure and we write that enter employee information and we get that value from the user. So what we do, we scan the value from the user and write percentage S for city name, then percentage D for pin number. Okay, so the first is for name, second S for city, and third D for pin, and fourth one is for phone number. Now we write the information employee.name, address.city. So again, if we want to access members of structure, we have to use that structure variable. So employee emp and address add are the variable of structure employee and address respectively. So we write employee.name, employee.address, so add.city. So using both variable employee.add.city, employee.add.pin, employee.add.phone. So this is how we can use a member of another structure. So this is the structure inside structure, and now we are printing this information. So now you have to keep in mind that if you are declaring variable of employee structure in main function and you have accessing the member of address structure, then you have to write employee.add.pin. Okay, directly employee.pin you cannot access, or in the main function you cannot write directly that add.pin, because in main function we only declare variable of employee structure. So these things you have to keep in mind, how to access members of structure. In main function directly you can only access the member of employee structure because you declare variable of that structure only. Okay, so here we are printing the information of the employee.name, city, address, pin number and phone number. Okay, so this thing you have to keep in mind, otherwise it is the same as a nested for loop, if loop, or if else statement, or nested if else statement, etc. Okay, now we end our program and compile it, and now we run our program. Okay, so enter employee information. So we write first the name of the employee, suppose XYZ. Then we have to write the city, suppose Delhi, and pin number. So we write 1001, and by mistake I print enter, so I forgot the enter phone number. So this is the example. Thank you.